Hargobind. I'm very excited to see you here today and have a chat with you. And for those of you who don't yet know Hargobind, I'm excited for you to meet him. I'll read you a real quick little blurb about him. So Hargobind grew up in the yoga community. He is the builder behind Casa Om Mexico and Casa Om Potomac, and between the two properties has hosted over 400 retreats. His passion for hospitality, cooking, construction, and yoga comes through in all the work they do at both centers. He's the author of Dharmify, a daily practice to get your mind right, business tight, be a lovelight so you feel all right, as well as the free ebook, Retreat Wizard Blizzard, 19 frameworks to run the coolest yoga retreats of your life. And you can find his podcast, Yoga Retreat Secrets, on Spotify. Hargobind, awesome to see you. The last time we had one of these chats, I didn't know you yet, and now I do. And so I'm even extra excited to sit down and have a conversation and let other people get to know you. Welcome.
Thank you, Laurel. Awesome, as always, to be in your presence and to be with you. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to host you and your awesome groups once again here at Casa Om Potomac. And so thanks for having me on to chat with you.
Super excited. So I gave a little background about who you are, but share a little bit more so people can have an idea of you.
I very much consider myself an entrepreneur in the yoga world. And I don't know which kind of came first, the yoga practice or the entrepreneurial mindset, but I really think that they ultimately are linked in both in their own way, in the spiritual or material way, are the pursuit of freedom and the pursuit of spiritual growth and the pursuit of creation and the ability to become a transforming human and ultimately in your businesses, transforming your livelihood, your economic status, your ability to create a product and transform other people's lives. And so to me, the spiritual practices of yoga and the spiritual practices of creation and entrepreneurism are very much linked for me. And that's just what makes me sort of so passionate about being in this industry and the properties that I'm building and the business arrangements that I get to make with amazing people like you. So to me, it's very much linked, and that's very much what I spend my professional life and my free time doing.
Yeah. Awesome.
How's that? Is that a good
that's
summary?
Perfect. Yes. That's just why we jive so much. I never heard you say that exactly, but I can relate to that as a yoga practitioner, as an entrepreneur, doing all the work that I'm doing to try to help women optimize brain health and reduce dementia risk. It's a spiritual, passionate practice. And excuse me, thank you for kind of highlighting that connection. That there's a connection there.
I love that about you, and I think it's one of the ways that we've definitely connected. And it's good stuff.
So you started out as an owner of yoga studios. What got you into the retreat space?
I just found that I felt the yoga studios allowed me to serve at this level, and then yoga retreats allowed me to serve at this level. And so I gravitated.
For those that can't see you, on the on the audio only version, he had his hand down low and then his hand up high. So there you go.
And exactly. So I loved serving at the yoga studio level and felt I could have a higher impact even at the yoga retreat level, and that's why I gravitated towards it.
Yeah. So I am familiar with your Casa Om Potomac retreat space. I have not yet been to your Casa Om Mexico space.
I can help you out with that. I can make that happen, Laurel. You came to the right place.
I think it's on my to-do list for next year. So count me in for 2024. Okay. So I loved the retreat experience at Casa Om Potomac, which was my first annual brain health retreat. And we were there October 2022. And when I thought initially about doing Mexico for 2023, I was like, no, but I have to go back to Potomac too, because I loved it so much. I didn't want to wait that whole 2 years to go back to Casa Om Potomac. It is so special. Can you share? I mean, share a little bit about from your perspective why it's so special, and then I might chime in.
So I'll take you back. I'll take you back in time. This area was, 1,000 years ago or so. There was, a group of tribes that lived here. They were loosely referred to as the Opequon tribe. And there's a creek that flows right into the Potomac River that's called the Opequon Creek. There's a cave on the property that was an ancient Indian trading post, and I can take you guys down there if you want. And you can kind of imagine that it looks exactly what it looked like 1,000 years ago, and that this was a major source of commerce and trading. And to have a cave with coverage and protection, and it's geothermal, and you could stash your dry goods there and float your canoes up and down the river. You can just imagine what a strategic, powerful place this would have been for humans 1,000 years ago. You fast forward to the 1700s. George Washington rode out here on his horse and surveyed the property, and the way that the British really outfoxed the French and the Native Americans and the Dutch and the Spanish was they were extremely good surveyors. And so Washington actually took ownership of this land sometime in the mid 1700s, and then sold it off and jump started the British economy prior to the Revolution. Then you fast forward even further, and you go to 1863, and General Lee was camped out right on the other side of the river after the Battle of Gettysburg. And he writes a very interesting letter where he thinks he's going to die that day because the Union are going to come and push him into the Potomac River and end the Civil War. You fast forward a little bit further, and you've got the C&O Canal. So you have a major economic development happening here between 1820 and 1890. So it was a very, active space at different points in time. Now you come here and it feels totally remote and totally chill and like you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're really not when you kind of position it in the sense of history. By the time I got my hands on it, it was owned by a wealthy lawyer. And to me, the sort of spiritual transformation of being able to buy the lawyer mansion and open it up to the yoga people is, open to everybody that wants to come, to me, has a spiritual, sort of democratic, step that we've taken with the property. And pretty much since we've gotten our hands on it, we've really just tried to make it better every day through construction and painting and art and our shipment of antiques from India, the yoga room, and so I very much feel a part of a certain level of history. And I think that kind of conveys through to the guests when they come in, even if they don't know all of that.
Yes, I did not know all of that history. I was privy to the information behind the cave because that was part of one of our retreat events last year, a meditation in the cave, which was an awesome highlight that we will definitely do again this year. But I didn't know all the rest. So thanks for filling us in.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love it.
Yeah. It's cool that history is something that you sought out, number one, and that it's important to you, and you're carrying the tradition of making it a special place and even healing some things that may have gone awry years, in history. I think it's a healing space. It is a healing space.
Yeah, it will be something that I hope it'll last far beyond my time. And I ultimately hope that however it transforms, it it feels to me like a very positive place. And I hope that vibe kind of continues long after I'm gone. Yeah, like certainly components of the earth and the river and the stone and the limestone, it'll be here long after we're gone.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I'd love to walk people through my experience last year, and feel free to chime in because you were observing as an outsider as to what was going on in that retreat. But first of all, as we approach, it's just long, kind of windy driveway going through the woods. And I think I had a smile on my face from the moment I turned the corner into the driveway until, multiple days after the retreat. And, you saw me like massaging my face because my face was hurting. I really went to sleep with a smile on my face. I was so happy to be there. The physical beauty of the land, of the house itself, and the kindness of you and your staff really was second to none. And we all felt very much at home, very comfortable. So last time I didn't book far enough in advance, so I didn't get a weekend. This time I knew, I wanted a long weekend to make it easier for people. So we'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, August, the 18th to the 21st. And I'm trying to think of all the things that made it special. I loved the big dining room table. So we all sat together for meals, and you would check in with us and say, hey, how very discreetly, how are things going with the workshop that you're doing? Are we on time for dinner? And I might say, yeah, give us an extra 10 minutes or something. And then we would sit down and food would come out in all its glory. It was beautiful. And you worked with us ahead of time because the facility is vegetarian, and I wanted to also have a keto experience for brain health for these ladies. So that was one of the topics that we discussed and learned about that week, or those 4 days. And that was new to you. You hadn't done a keto vegetarian retreat before, and you knocked it out of the park. It was still amazing. And I don't think there was anybody there who was vegetarian, but everybody liked all the food that you made. It didn't matter that they weren't accustomed to a vegetarian diet. It was delicious and beautiful, every meal, and loved the beauty of the yoga studio, the option to have hot yoga. That was not part of my experience previously. So we played with the temperature so that my clients were, able to tolerate it. And then we also did the ice bath, and we learned from you about the Wim Hof breathing technique before we did the ice bath. That is also on our list for this year. And I mentioned already the cave meditation, which was amazing. Part of the reason I scheduled it this year in the summer is because you have a pool, and very excited to use the pool this year and share some of the updates, because you've made some updates to the property, things that we're going to be able to take advantage of this year that weren't available last year.
So we got some really, like, I'm very happy with what our construction schedule has been really since you've been here last, but we put in a super nice yoga deck. So you can do outdoor yoga classes on our deck right next to the yoga room. And it also creates a really nice space for my rooms 9 and 10. So those customers can kind of wake up, go outside, sit on the deck in the morning, watch the sunrise if they want. The sunset from the deck is amazing, but it's also just a really kind of nice place to congregate. I've been doing the ice baths there now. It's nice. We can do our breathing exercises outside, and just gives us another kind of space overlooking the river for you to occupy. The
Awesome.
other super fun thing that I go to every day, and it's kind of become like one of my favorite spaces on the property. Is we put steps down to the river and we put in a dock. So now, even for the smaller groups, you could even do a meditation at the dock. You can jump into the river off of the dock. But honestly, it's just fun to go down, sit at the dock, put your feet in the river, and just kind of take in the whole space. So those are the two main communal spaces that we've developed since you were here last. I think maybe we were just finishing room 11 when you were here, but we now have an 11th room that is super cute, and it overlooks the pool, and that'll be available to you as well. So in terms of actual construction and development, those are the three main things that we've put in since you were here last.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I did not know about the yoga deck, and that will be awesome to have the option to do yoga outside. Even though the view from the yoga studio is beautiful, then we have multiple places we can do yoga, and I love to do yoga outside if the weather's good, and that can't beat that. The view is
totally
amazing. So from the dock, other than hanging your feet off and jumping in, are there other options of getting in the water? Do you have paddleboard?
So right now I have 2 paddle boards, 1 canoe, 1 kayak, and then there is the option for you to hire a boat. And we have a captain that we work with, and she's got an amazing boat, and she's a great captain, and that can be an actual additional excursion that you can put onto your schedule, kind of weather permitting, and if that's something that you want to do. But I highly recommend it. It's so much fun.
How many people does the boat hold?
14.
Okay, that's awesome.
So for the bigger groups, honestly, more than 10 though, I recommend splitting it up. Send a couple people on paddle boards, send a couple people swim in the river, and then the other people do a little cruise, and then you can kind of switch out.
Right.
If which is fun, and then people can kind of go twice, or
yeah, that's awesome.
You can get in as many as you want to have fun.
Yeah, and I saw that you did your first wedding there, and that you liked that. You might do more of that.
I loved the wedding. We had 65 people. It was so special. It was the bride and groom were just amazing. The family was amazing. And for us, I felt like it was a great step outside of our comfort zone, because usually we have only 20 or 25 people max. And for us to go to 65 and make the meal for them and put on events for them, and create a whole holistic experience with massage and yoga and meditation and caving and food and boat trips and the pool, and it gave us a chance, I felt like, to serve just more people in a whole thing, and really create a really memorable experience for everybody that came, and that just felt special to me to be a part of that. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're giving me ideas. My husband asked me what I want to do for my 50th birthday.
Oh, well, we'll put together quite the pitch, Laurel.
Yeah. Okay. I think I have an idea.
we can help you out with this.
Okay.
Put together the whole thing. Yeah. We have a 30th birthday party happening next month, and we love putting on events. We'll rock your world. Yeah, just tell us your vision, and we'll help you build it.
Cool. I'm glad that you mentioned massage, because that does come up. People are saying, I'm away on my retreat. I want to relax and do self-care as much as possible. You have an awesome massage therapist. Everyone you got a massage last year said it was fantastic. I also did Reiki for those people that were interested in that. We did, as I mentioned, the cave meditation, and then you were a guest yoga teacher on top of the yoga classes that I taught, which was awesome. This year, because the focus is yoga and detox, in addition to the heat, so sweating is one way to detox. So we have the hot yoga option. You have a jacuzzi, and I'm also going to bring a little personal infrared sauna. So I don't know if you've
Nice.
seen them where your head sticks out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so going to bring that for the ladies to try. And I say ladies because this retreat is a ladies retreat. You and your staff are the special males allowed. It's a different vibe. We'll probably do a mixed retreat sometime in the future, maybe for my 50th birthday. That sounds like a plan. And so something that you mentioned the last time that I interviewed you, and that was obvious while we were there for our retreat, was the concept of seva. Could you share what that is and how it plays a role in your retreats?
Seva translates as like selfless service, but it yeah, and that's how it translates. And it's a concept that shows up in so much of the Indian religions, in the culture and the spirituality. And it very much had like a very positive experience on me when I was a kid growing up in India. And it really guided a lot of the choices that I feel like we've made in building these properties, in a number of ways. But really, even to take it a step back, a lot of my experiences in India really guided the sort of the why behind building these properties. And I went to boarding school when I was 12, and I lived in India from 12 to 17, and I had such a strong communal structure. I was around friends, I was around people, I was around teachers, I was around mentors, I was around all of these different people of different ages that were sort of communally raising me. And when I came back to America, I was again very isolated. And I was like, there's something off about being this isolated. And that sort of got me into, like, when I saw the yoga retreat trend booming, I was like, I love this. Like, I want to be a part of this because it reminds me of that communal structure that I was in before. And so the other kind of big thing that we would do is we would go to this place called the Golden Temple in Amritsar, also known as the Harimandir Sahib. And we would do seva there. And so we would basically volunteer, and you like carry water, and you wash floors, and you make chapati, and you make langar, which is the food that gets served. And we would do that, 40 days in a row, month after month. We would do it almost every day for different periods of my life. And that made me so happy. Like that just ability to kind of just be part of a group and be serving and making food and cleaning stuff up, like really just really did it for me. And so when I got into the Casa Om concepts, I very much wanted to integrate these concepts of service and hospitality and making everyone feel welcome. And even that's like one of the tenets of that temple in India is like everybody's welcome. Okay. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are. It doesn't matter about anything. And obviously people are paying for this. This is a for-profit business. Don't get me wrong. But that sort of spirit and inspiration has never left me, where like, I don't care where you're from. I don't, care what your economic status is. I like when you come in to these properties, I want you to feel welcome. I want you to feel taken care of. I want you to have fun. I want you to make friends. I want you to be well fed. We have our sort of vegetarian, ethos that we follow. And that's what I'm passionate about cooking. But really what I'm passionate about is making people feel comfortable, showing them a good time, making sure they're learning, getting friends, getting their needs met, and ultimately that they leave this property feeling inspired, feeling connected, feeling love, and feeling taken care of. And so those experiences very much carried through into how I built my projects.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm surprised that I didn't know the word. I'm embarrassed to admit that I didn't know the word seva before you. My training in yoga, we talked about karma yoga, which I think is very similar.
Oh,
not
yeah.
the same thing, like doing good for others because it's good for you and it's good for them. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, that's Yeah, those expressions, they increase your feelings of self-worth, your levels of happiness, create feelings of self-worth, feeling recognition, happiness in other people. I think that there's a very, or there probably is, some scientific, thing behind that, where we need to serve, we need to be taken care of, we need to help each other.
Yeah. And since I was little, I knew that I wanted to help people. It took me a while to figure out that I wanted to be an occupational therapist, but um, yoga really goes along with that in my mind. We're serving. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Totally.
Yeah.
Um, it takes
So,
all of us a little time to figure out what our niche is, how to be valuable and be of service. So congrats for finding,
yeah.
finding your path.
So, in your opinion, what is the benefit of retreat? Just getting away from your own world and going into another space for a retreat, whether it's a 2-day or a 4-day or a week long. And what kind of feedback do you get from your guests?
Depression, anxiety, fear, stress, I think all increase when you're suffering through periods of loneliness. And I don't mean alone, but I mean that you fundamentally need connection with other people and you're not getting it. Like, I think there's great to be periods of alone, but that those heavy depression, anxiety, fear, distrust of other people, lack of love, and also lack of education. We learn from people that are further along from us. And so when we come into the yoga retreat environment, when we come into communal environments, all of a sudden we get these very different types of people that we're interacting with in a very constructive and supportive environment. So to me, I don't think that, I think humans are getting punched in two ways that are super bad for our health. One, being alone, and two, being constantly bombarded with social media. And so the fact that, the nuclear family developed away from tribal living made us so much more lonely, and at the same time we're staring at passively engaging in these fantasy lives of other people. It's just a real 1-2 punch in terms of increase of comparing yourself to others, anxiety, depression, and distrust of the world, because you're getting such hype delivered through your news sources and your media. So when you come to yoga retreat, you come to communal environment, and you sit across the table from someone who doesn't agree with your belief system and realize that you agree on 95% of the things. It's just you didn't have a chance to have a conversation and break bread together. All of a sudden, I think your feelings of humanity go way up. And ultimately that improves your mental and physical health. So to me, I think the reason yoga retreats are booming is because we are really kind of giving some pushback to that 1-2 punch of loneliness and social media. So that's why I really believe in it. I think we're solving a certain problem that needs to get solved.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely in agreement as well. So I'm also glad that you mentioned the social media piece, because the theme this year for the yoga retreat is the yoga and detox retreat. And we're going to be talking about breath. And you can detox through your breath. We'll talk about, drinking healthy, clean water, and that can help you detox as well, and healthy, clean food and sweating. But the other thing that we're going to be detoxing from are our screens. So I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm hoping that you will safely hold all of our phones while we're there, and they can get an emergency call through you if
Sure.
somebody needs to reach them, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
we have to, there is such an addictive quality to these phones. And it's not just my teenage kids, it's me as well. I need to put it down. And I'm looking forward to giving you my phone when I get there and say, we're going to hire a photographer to come in to take pictures, so we don't feel like we're missing out on, the beauty that we might want to reflect on after the fact. And maybe one day we'll get our phones out for an hour and take pictures. But for the majority of the time, we'll be detoxing from the screens. There's no televisions in our bedrooms. We're there to get in touch with ourselves, each other, the physical beauty around us. So yeah, you have tons of 5-star reviews, so I know that I'm not the only person that feels that way about the space, that it's just a healing, amazing space to be in. So thank you for creating it.
The one thing, if I can share on social media, just while we're on it, because I'm a big social media user, but I read this study that said that passive engagement with social is really bad for our health, but active engagement with social is only sometimes bad and sometimes really good. And the way that I took that was like, if you're creating, if you're publishing, if you're telling your story, if you're, encouraging your friends and family on, and your little nephew from soccer practice, and you're engaging and sharing and expressing, then it can be very positive. So I really do differentiate those two, and just encourage everyone that I meet. Like I think expressing our voice and speaking our truth is extremely important. But what's really dangerous is that passive consumption of media, where we're not really thinking, we're not really engaging, we're not really contributing something positive. We're just taking whatever anyone wants to deposit into our minds, and that to me that's the direct path to decrease of self-worth. So just want to share that.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted the difference. I said teenage kids, but actually my older kids are 23 and 20, and I have an 11-year-old as well. So my 20-year-old, she has stated, when she's not in a good headspace, she's more likely to sit and scroll. And she realizes that sitting and scrolling makes her worse.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But she's, living away from home this summer, and we're using social media. It's not really social. It's an app. It's called Marco Polo. And so we record videos for each other and then send a video. And we're using something that I got from a client called GCE. So G is gratitude, C is celebration, and E is excitement. And so we'll share our gratitude for the day, something that we can celebrate that we personally accomplished or did that day. And then excitement, something we're looking forward to the next day. And that is an amazing way to use technology. In that way, it's been super helpful. So
I love it.
You highlighted the difference between passive and active use of the technology and social media.
Yeah, I love that. Way to go.
Yeah. So I am a big fan of physical books. So I'm going to pull your book up, the Dharmify. I like to read and hold the thing. I don't like to read it on a screen. And it was such a treat that you gave the retreat goers last year this book. And I went home and devoured it, and then got to know you even better through this book. What do you want to share about it for people who are out there? I have to read the subtitle again, because it's great. A daily practice to get your mind right, your business tight, be a love light so you feel all right. I love that. Tell us about Dharmify.
Dharmify sort of evolved over the last 5 years of building my projects. And I started to realize that the things that were going well were following a very similar methodology, and the things that were not going well, I was deviating somewhat from these kind of hard-earned lessons that I had picked up, through my travels in Mexico and my travels in India and growing up in America. And so I started to put them together into a journal practice, and that's what became the Dharmify. And a lot of it is really inspired from teachings of yoga, from teachings of Sikh religion, from entrepreneurism, and it very much is kind of just a very simple methodology to get really in tune with how you're feeling, what's important to you, and then to take step by step concrete action, bold action to make things happen. And it really starts to become like a little map and a guide, whether you're dealing with, some type of love and relationship issue, or you're dealing with whether to start a business or not, or perhaps you're going through divorce and, trying to, navigate through those kind of sort of difficult times. Dharmify really gives you, it's very empowering and very clarifying as to what your next best step is, given the resources and time that you have. So it's real simple. You do it on a piece of paper. You just sort of kind of write out each of the components of it, and then they start to really talk to each other and give you tremendous guidance on what bold step you should take.
Yeah, and I'll just add that as a retreat leader and a yoga teacher, that your retreat wizard blizzard, when we use the concepts in Dharmify to plan for a retreat, was super helpful for me because
amazing.
Yeah, it's super helpful. So this is good for someone who is a yoga teacher like me, who might be thinking about running a retreat, but it's also helpful for just anyone who wants a guide for life.
It's all of these ideas have already been spoken, especially in the self-help, personal development space. There's not really new stuff, but what it is it's a voice that maybe will resonate with you. And these were the words and the terms, and what's sort of unique about it was that I just put it into just a really simple step-by-step guide. But it's all stuff that you've heard before. And, but perhaps just through my voice, it'll resonate with you or not. Maybe somebody else is there that'll say the same thing, and, they'll resonate with you.
I like that you included your personal stories in it. I love stories, and and we're both laughing because we know the stories that are in that book, but you have to read the book to find out what they are.
I'm blushing. Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't hold anything back. It's more than you ever wanted to know.
Lots of good stories in there. I highly recommend it. So how can people get, how can people get in touch with you, and what kind of people should get in touch with you? So you're not just for yoga teachers looking to run a retreat, but you're looking for anybody who might want to come to retreat because you run your own. So tell us more.
I definitely attract a very eclectic group. In both in terms of retreat leaders and, people that come to visit me. In terms of retreats that I've hosted, the group that just left was all mothers. It was a sacred child loss retreat. And so it was all mothers who had lost at least one child. And so they came, the retreat leader unfortunately had lost a child, and she led it for her clientele. And one of the most powerful retreats that I've gotten to witness. I mean, these women, are just so powerful. I've hosted special operations forces. So, Army Rangers and Green Berets and, naval special operations, America's warriors, fascinating groups of people. I've hosted Black Goddess retreats. I've hosted numerous women's retreats. I've had men's retreats. So it's really just anybody who's looking to do strong healing work, I would love to host. In terms of who's coming on my actual retreats, I teach very physical yoga. I love hand balancing. I love contortion and back bending. I teach my Dharmify. Definitely the entrepreneur, in the wellness space is always interwoven into what I'm doing. I teach workshops on book writing. I really am a strong advocate of people speaking their voice, figuring out who they are, what their values are, and how that can help them build their business by getting their message out there. So my retreats, they're definitely an eclectic mix of people, but it's always fun, and it's always fascinating. So yeah.
And as far as location goes, you said that it was remote, but easy to get to. So how far are you? So you are in West Virginia, but
Mm-hmm.
skipping a jump from Washington, D.C.
Yep. 60
How
miles
many?
from DC, about 90 minutes from Washington, DC. It's super easy to get here, within 4 hours of Pittsburgh, 4 hours of Philly, maybe 2.5 hours from Richmond. We're right off Route 81, maybe 10 minutes off of 81. So it's super easy. Fly
Yeah.
into Dulles or BWI or Reagan, and then you're about an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half from each of those. You can take the train into Martinsburg. So it's easy,
Yeah.
super easy.
And how about the Mexico retreat space?
So just outside of Cancun, we're actually closer to the airport than even Cancun is, because you go south to get to us. We're just 10 miles from the airport. Direct flight into Cancun. Pass through customs is easy. And then 25 minutes later, you can be on the beach there. We're in a town of Puerto Morelos. It's in between Playa del Carmen and Cancun. Great location. Also, it's just super accessible.
Yep. That's my next trip. That's my next one.
Okay. Come.
So tell us how we find you, your website, your social media handles.
Facebook.com/Hargobind. I'm on Instagram as well at Harg Yoga. And then you can find my podcast, Yoga Retreat Secrets, on Spotify, and shoot me an email. The websites are casaom.com and casaompotomac.com. We're easy to find.
Yeah. I'm so glad I found you.
Yeah, me too,
I shared
Laurel.
the story before that I had been looking for multiple months and just didn't find anything that really rang true. So I put it on the back burner, and I don't know what happened. You moved up in the Google search, or I searched the right word or something. And a couple months later, I searched and you were right on top. And it took me about 2 minutes to make the decision. Like, yes, that's where I want to be. And so glad.
Yeah, we're so grateful for you, Laurel. It's total joy to interact with you, to host you. Every time it's just everything is good, and we just look forward to making it better and better for you every time you return. That's important to us.
Thank you so much for your time and heart today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, me too, Laurel. You're the best.